What is going on, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. Time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. Let's get into the books I read this week. Starting over in DC, we have Batman 149, the end of Chip Zdarsky's fail-safe run. This is a conclusion issue right here. Two different artists, not artists that we're used to seeing in the previous arc, but it serves the purpose because there's not a whole lot of action in here. It's wrapping up a lot of loose ends that we've had throughout this storyline. Failsafe has been taken care of. The Bat family is kind of hugging it out in the last issue, and they're coming together to kind of see where we go from here. Of course, we have Damian, we have Bruce trying to figure some stuff out. There is a clone that Failsafe created, his own Robin, a human Robin. We unpack that a little bit in here. Who exactly is it? What's their abilities? What was the ultimate plan for this character? We unpacked it in here, and it turns into a pretty thoughtful, emotional thing, I would say. I don't know if it exactly hit how Chip would have wanted, but I think it had a lot of heart and emotion and feeling and consideration behind it. And we even retcon, or not retcon, but we actually fix a problem that we were introduced to in Chip's run physically with Bruce Wayne. That I thought it was a pretty interesting way to approach that, and it's a good way to go like, oh, never mind, don't forget that ever happened. So I wonder if that editorial did that, or he stepped in and just said, I'm going to do something drastic, but I'll fix it, I promise, by the end. Either way, again, it's just like a big conclusion issue. We get Batman on top of his game right now. Vandal Savage is actually the commissioner of Gotham. We touch base on that too, what the plan is regarding that. And we get to see, like, where's a new base of operations? We unpack that a little bit in here, and we're basically going to have this giant house full of Bat family, which I think is going to be kind of cool. We get to touch base with Selina in here as well. Lots going on inside of this issue. Again, it's a conclusion issue. We're going to be straightening some stuff back out, leading into our next arc very soon. 149, let me know what you guys thought. Jumping over to Tom King on Wonder Woman issue number 10. Not a bad issue at all. Lots of action in here. The last couple of issues, specifically the last issue, number 9, or maybe even number 8, I was a little bit hard on because it would just seem like it was so heavy-handed. It felt like Tom King really wanted to put this image out of Wonder Woman. Like, everybody knows she's already a badass, but like, the steps he was going to and the story he was trying to tell to reiterate that, to like solidify that even more than it already is, seemed a little bit too much for me. But I do like this issue here because we actually catch up with Cheetah. And we're doing that because the past attempts to like break Wonder Woman essentially have not worked. And so we're relying on some more of her past villains and relationships to break her spirit, break her mentally, break her physically, things like that. Now, I don't know why Cheetah just wasn't part of the gang of rogues gallery that we sent at Wonder Woman a few issues ago, which led her to captivity. I think that maybe would have sealed the deal. But who knows? We also get to touch base with the other Wonder Girls in here. You know, we have Donna, we have Yara, we have Cassie, we have everybody in here just trying to find the invisible jet to go find Wonder Woman, and I think it was a pretty cool like banter between them. I love those three on the page at the same time because they're just really fun. And this book really leans in again to like the heavy-handedness of how much of a badass that Wonder Woman is. She's just so formidable, even against her toughest opponents. But it's also a beautiful book because it highlights the relationship between Barbara, Cheetah, and Wonder Woman. And so I liked all those little character moments in there. The art has always been spectacular inside this book. And the backstory, the Trinity backstory on here is so fun, man. If you're not reading this book for whatever reason, it's at least worth it just to pick it up to read those backstories between Damian and John and little mini Wonder Woman. And so it's just so fun to see those three interacting. She's trying to fly a kite right now. Of course, the guys can't stop arguing as they usually do. She's trying to fly this kite. They run out of options. And so what do? They try to find some kind of anti-hero, some villain that is very good at kites to help them out. So Wonder Woman issue number 10, I thought it was pretty good. A little bit of emotion in there, great character moments, amazing drawing, a little heavy-handed still, but the whole series has been so far. I'm going to try to forgive that. Let me know if you guys are reading it down below. Sandman Universe now. John Constantine Hellblazer Dead in America issue number 6. Cy Spurrier and Aaron Campbell on this one. Jordi Belair as well. Amazing creative team. This is a travel in the United States. We're traveling from east to west. John has been killed, but like through some magical means, he's still alive. Dream has sent him on this quest right now to find like his sand. He's got a single grain of it right now. That single grain of sand, as they're traveling east to west, is attracting all kinds of mythical and magical attention. And we're seeing what the impacts of that are throughout these issues right here. The team that we've built up so far, traveling across America in this bus, is just hilarious. I love the banter back and forth. Again, they're picking up all these hitchhikers who have all these really interesting abilities and whatnot. The one that we have in here is a Metamancer, I think he's called. He can actually change, modify, edit, whatever he wants, the narrative of the story that he's in right now. So if they're in a bus and the police are looking for a big red bus, he can turn it blue. He can change the story in real time. He's like a reality warper in a way. John's aware of this kind of ability, and what's cool is Cysphere actually uses that to his advantage and uses it as like a fourth wall breaker for this character. This character is obsessed, kind of like Gollum style, obsessed with the ring of power, right? He's obsessed to get this grain of sand, and he's using that fourth wall breaking ability to manipulate the panels, the page structure, to like steal things from previous panels or future panels. It's a really cool writing idea, and I'm glad to see it in here. Again, it's very meta, it's very fourth wall breaking, and we get a little bit more hints as to like what the ultimate goal is. We're traveling west right now to assumingly find this ultimate power to help save John's life, but like along the way, it's just all these crazy little side missions and stories and characters we get to interact with. So just such a creative book. I love this one. It takes a little while to get through because it's just so fun to digest it slowly. The art's incredible. So let me know if you're reading this one down below. All right, let's hop over to Marvel. We have Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime issue number 1. This one had like the recipe for success for me because I loved DuckTales growing up. It's one of my top 5 NES games of all time for sure. Number 2 is not bad as well. Check that one out if you haven't. Loved the TV show and everything growing up. We have Jason Aaron on this one. We had a Alex Ross cover. We had a Frank Miller variant for crying out loud. So like this had a recipe for success, at least emotionally for me. So how is this issue right here? Well, it's extremely grandiose, right? There are lots of portrayals of just absurd riches inside of here, which is what you would expect from an Uncle Scrooge kind of a book. It's also got a multi-dimensional twist in here too, heavily playing on the word infinity dime instead of like infinity stones. Obviously, there's a multi-dimensional element to this. We basically have like this Scrooge that is completely obsessed with more wealth. He actually finds a way to enter other dimensions to steal the wealth of other Scrooges, and he uses that to his advantage to accumulate like all the riches in all the dimensions, right? So we have to put together a team of other Scrooges throughout the multiverse to take on this threat, and it's just fun. It's whimsical. It's super colorful. It's interesting. You know, there's a lot of comedic moments and things like that in here. And so at the end of the day, it was just like a fun book. We do get like a little classic take in the back over here as well with Donald Duck's Christmas on Bear Mountain. So you do get this more retro style story in the back, or a reprinting or whatever it might be. And that was fun too. So that was a pretty cool little bonus thing right there. So 2 different stories, Extra Size Boy, really kind of fun. Brings back all the nostalgia, things like that. Let me know if you read this one though down below. Continuing Marvel, we have Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 6. Hickman back on this one. We have Coquetto as well, thank God, to pick this one back up. The previous 2 issues were more story-driven, more character relationship-driven, talking head, moving the plot along from a narrative perspective. This one right here brings back the action for sure. We have Peter and Harry in costume, staking out right now outside of Wilson Fisk's office. They're going to confront him. They're going to see what this dude is all about, what he's up to. But this is the issue where we learn how formidable Wilson Fisk actually is. And it's an Ultimate Universe, so characters are slightly changed. This Wilson is not the same Wilson that we're used to. He's enhanced in some kind of a way. We see the outcome of that battle in here, which leads Peter's family to be very suspicious about what the heck is actually going on, and they have a very deep conversation inside of this issue. And so I really like that human element, that family element that was brought into here as well, because that's exactly what would happen if you become a superhero and you get your butt kicked and you come home with a giant black eye and cuts and bruises, things like that. So lots of action in here. Definitely learning more about Wilson Fisk is all about, and the family's now caught up to what exactly is going on. So Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 6, really good issue. Let me know if you read it. Next up, we have the conclusion of the One Hand from Image Comics. We have Ram V on this one. We have Campbell and Low Ridge on here as well. Aditya Bidikar on the letters too. So again, this is the conclusion of this one. The companion piece was the Six Fingers from Damn Waters. These 2 books were complementary to each other. One from the detective's point of view, which is One Hand. One from the serial killer's point of view, which is the Six Fingers. So if you want to get the full story, you got to read both of those. This one's ending first, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and we're going to get one more issue of Six Fingers. So I can't wait to see what that wrap up looks like in here. This one was kind of interesting because we actually get to see our detective being interrogated, not really interrogated, but questioned, right? About like where he is, what did he witness? And it's a retrospect type of a storytelling. outlining the events that led up to his capture or to his discovery of like what is actually going on in here. And when you look at it at a high enough level, it's not a concept that we haven't seen before. In fact, they made a movie franchise basically on the concept here, but it was kind of interesting to piece everything together leading up to this point. It's definitely the kind of book that you'd want to understand what's happening. You want to read it all the way through. You want to get that aha moment, and then you want to go back and see what kind of connections you can make that would have led us to that conclusion naturally. But I don't think it's a kind of book that you could have done that with, to be honest, because they're pretty ambiguous leading up to the conclusion or the aha moment at the end here. Artwork continues to be spectacular in this book. I think it was a satisfying-ish conclusion to the story itself. I actually did like the detective here as a character, so I liked watching his journey and his like slow descent into madness. That was pretty cool. A relatively shocking ending, but like at the end of the day, it's not a concept again that we haven't seen before. I'm looking forward to seeing what Six Fingers, how that one ends, what the conclusion of that one looks like, and just seeing what the whole story looks like when it's all said and done. Let me know if you're reading these two titles though, and what you guys are thinking about it down below. Damn Waters on Destro issue number 1, Skybound. The Energon universe is absolutely killing it right now. We had Scarlet coming out a couple of weeks ago, not too bad of an issue. Coming off of Duke and Cobra Commander, we have Transformers going on, we have Void Rivals still going on. So many great titles outlining this universe right now. So where does Destro fit in? Well, if you read Cobra Commander, you know in the last couple of issues of that, him and Destro have been teaming up. Cobra presumably taking more of a leadership role and Destro kind of falling in place, not happening inside of this book right here. There's actually an opening page showcasing some of the technology Destro has at his hands. He needs to do like a field test for some of these new robots, and Cobra's kind of pissed off because it's bringing attention to their overall goals right here. But Destro is very quick to remind Cobra that he does not work for him. He is a partner right now, and they're both utilizing each other's resources and abilities at the moment, but there's definitely going to be some clashing going on between these two in future arcs, and I can't wait to see that. Art is spectacular in here as well, very Cobra-esque. So if you're into that art style, that's what you're going to get inside of here. There's like a secondary story in here, broadening the scope of characters in the Destro, Cobra, G.I. Joe realm. So if you're into that kind of stuff, I think you'll appreciate some of those. But you know, at the end of the day, this is just Destro doing Destro stuff, being a weapons dealer, playing around with very high advanced technology, scoping out the competition, stuff like that, and lots of craziness happening because of that just dangerous world that he lives in anyways. So Destro number 1, Damn Waters, great first issue. Let me know if you read it. All right, next up from Boom Studios, we have Man's Best issue number 3. Now, issue number 4 comes out this week. I wasn't able to get issue number 3, so here it is right here. I actually got to meet Jesse Lonergan over at Heroes Con. He's the artist for this book. I picked it up at his table, got his autograph, and I had a great conversation and hang out with him. You'll learn all more about that in future videos when I go over the Heroes Con stuff. But issue number 3 is a really interesting issue because Jesse, the artist, really had to flex his muscles, I would imagine, and his coloring skills to portray this very trippy, very like hallucinogenic experience that some of our hero animals go through. This story actually follows some support animals that were on a spaceship, helping out some of the humans as they travel vast distances. They're kind of kitted out with these different mech suits, and there's a leadership structure between the animals. The leader of this group is still trying to understand their role, still trying to like throw their weight around a little bit, and there's lots of lessons learned between the team right now. They've gotten split up. One of them is really injured, but the environment itself, the planet itself, has some kind of a hive mind or some kind of a hallucinogenic monster or alien or whatever it might be that taps into the minds of certain team members, and they just go on this weird acid trip with the ultimate goal of, I guess, reorienting them to what matters most. You know, there's some inner monologue that gets shared between them inadvertently, some true feelings are coming out, but at the end of the day, they get refocused on the objective at hand, which is go find our friend, rescue them, and go get back to the spaceship and go find our humans. That's exactly what happens in here. Again, the art is crazy inside of this book. The coloring is very vibrant and it pops for sure. The blending of the colors is great as well. Lots of interesting moments. And to top it off, we do get a little bit of a hint of where our humans are right now, maybe some of their hidden motives, things like that, maybe some of the people they're teaming up with, some bad guys are teaming up with. We're going to be unpacking that for sure in subsequent issues. Issue number 3, really good. Issue number 4 is out this week. I'll be grabbing that one as soon as I can and let you know what I thought about it. Let me know if you read this one though, down below. All right, next up from Floating World Comics, we have American Nature Presents issue number 1. This is some Santos Sisters, some Greg and Fake material right here. This one has some comics up front, some, you know, non-consecutive comics up front, but then it has some interviews with some comic book shops and things like that towards the end, which are really interesting. So if you're into those kinds of books, you can definitely check this one out. 3 or 4 different short stories in the beginning of this one. Very, very trippy stuff, mostly black and white art inside of here. Greg and Fake do the second story in here, featuring some chipmunks that are up to no good, stealing some stuff from our girls, and they get quickly caught in the end of this book. They're only a couple pages long, but the majority of this book is more about some interviews and things like that from some different creative people and a comic shop roundtable, which I think is pretty cool. A bunch of different perspectives across the country about their clientele, you know, their customer base, what kinds of stuff that they're into, how they got in the comics, things like that. So if you like the Comics Journal kind of stuff, the Wizard Magazine, articles, things like that, you might be digging this kind of a thing. So you can check this one out. It's a $6 price point though, with 3 or 4 short stories and a bunch of interviews that make up half the book. So a little bit high, but if you're collecting everything that these guys are putting out anyways, this is probably on your radar. So let me know if you read it though down below. All right, Jim Rugg has a new book out right now that I picked over at Heroes Con. It's called Conspiracy Comics issue number 1. It's also available on his website, so you can check that one out. It's not going to be like a Diamond distributed book or Penguin or anything like that, Lunar. So go to his website and check this one out. Check him out on Instagram, whatnot. And I'm sure he's going to have it at future cons, so be on the lookout for that. Self-published book right here, and it's about conspiracies, at least for the most part. It opens up with this ghost bomber. This was actually a plane that went down in some river system up north, and they're trying to figure out exactly like how it went down. What was the special cargo? Why can't we find this plane? There's a bunch of conspiracies, I guess, loose conspiracies about where the plane could have gone. Different government agencies that might be obsessed with the contents of this plane. It said it ran out of fuel. Was it carrying unexpected cargo? Something like that, right? Not everything. The storytelling is really good as well. So that is basically how the first issue goes. It has like a bunch of local interviews and things like that. And everything is kind of left open to interpretation. Like it kind of got swept under the rug a little bit, but there's local legends about what actually happened. And we unpack that inside of here, which is great. We got a cool like Ric Flair cage match kind of a thing in the second story right here. Great cartooning. I love all the emotions. Not really a conspiracy book, or maybe, you know, on face value, it's not exactly a conspiracy book, but it kind of outlines what happens when a wrestling match goes out of hand, right? And that was pretty cool. The third story in here is more of a narcotics bust. I think it was back in like 30s or late 30s, something like that. But it outlines this detective who's going undercover right now, stopping basically the biggest drug ring in the United States at the time. He's infiltrating across the entire country. He's networking with different people, and it outlines that right there. Another, is it a conspiracy book? I mean, you know, loosely, I guess. There's definitely some conspiracy-like stuff in here, some cult behavior that we unpack in here a little bit, and we get to see the success of that drug bust right there. So, Conspiracy Comics issue number 1, I liked it a lot. 3 different stories. Were they conspiracies? Not really conspiracies, but they're just like weird things that happened in 3 different stories with, you know, like a lot of folklore and a lot of local legend that maybe surrounds them. So it was actually a really fun book. So Conspiracy Comics number 1, let me know if you read it though, down below. Next up is TMNT Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution issue number 2. That's kind of like a crazy title. Kevin Eastman cover right here. I've been lukewarm on the new team, this new Turtles team. This is not the classic team that we know and love. This is actually a team that was created, and we learned a little bit more about that inside of this issue, well into the future, past the events of The Last Ronin. So we do have April, we have her daughter Casey, we have these new Turtles that we're still trying to orient ourselves with. I can't remember any of their names. I haven't nailed down their personalities just yet. I'm not exactly sure why. It might be like my stubbornness to accept the fact that we have a new Turtles team, or the writing just hasn't done enough to really solidify the individuality of each character, and it really hasn't implanted yet. But we've only known these characters for a few issues at this point, and so we get to unpack that a little bit more inside of this issue. Casey, who's April's daughter, went out on some mission right now to stop this big battle that was going on. They're kind of the peacekeepers. They're the rebels, right, in the city right now. And of course, there's like a corrupt government agency that's bled down into the police department, and there's some riots and whatnot. So the team went out on their first outing. One of the Turtles got hurt or was paralyzed in some weird way. So April is taking him back into the base, running a bunch of tests and whatnot. And I think we uncover another character from TMNT lore in this issue right here. And it's like a more technology-based being, and it's an ally. I'll let you figure out who that is. But I love the conversation between this entity and April, because it really unveils April's true motives in here, or it kind of points us in that direction. Like, she created these turtles artificially, and she did it for specific reasons. You know what I'm saying? And so we're uncovering like the morality of that. It goes on for a little while, to be honest, but it's an interesting conversation nonetheless. If you don't know who this character is that she's talking to, it does give you a couple pages of recap to get you oriented about who that character is, which is really cool. The also exciting thing about this issue here is we get our turtles kind of, getting back after that mission. They're worried about their brother, trying to figure things out. April's figuring out what's going on with this person, but crime doesn't stop, right? And of course, we have another incident pop off where these rivaling gangs are at each other's throats. It's kind of set up, but we unpack that a little bit in this issue. And we get to see an interesting display of powers through the turtle that was injured in the previous battle. And maybe there's not actually something wrong with that turtle. Maybe they were exhibiting powers that they didn't quite understand that they had at that moment. And we're starting to understand what they are and learning how to control them in here. So I cannot wait to see if this is a constant thing among the turtles. They all have secret abilities they haven't unpacked yet. That's going to be an interesting plot point, I think, in this whole story. Let me know if you read this one, though, down below. All right, guys, that's everything I read this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you read and what your favorite books of the week were down below. While you're down there, like, subscribe, share, hit the bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out new videos. Thank you again for watching. We'll see you in the comments.